Alright, hello all you crazy people out there, my name is Dragonite, and welcome back to Harvest December. So, in the last part, Kohai just kind of asked Sane out, and Sane kind of said yes, and in this part, I assume we're going to see the results of that. Anyway, a drop of dew blew from a blade of grass and was soon absorbed into the soil. It was humid, and the ground radiated heat. I bounced the traditional red umbrella I was given on my shoulder. I was feeling uneasy, the humidity getting to me. The skies were clear. I found myself hoping it would rain again. There you are! I could hear the wet grass crushing under her feet with every step she took. It's really humid today. We can't wear a sleeveless summer uniform. It would be improper. We'll have to tough it out. Oh god, I just noticed what she's wearing. Like, that would really be awful in hot, humid weather. Do not want to think about that. Like, I'm a guy who starts wearing short sleeves in about February, and doesn't stop until about December. And, yeah. I like my air circulation. Anyway. Yeah, I replied without looking at her. Summer was starting soon, but Sane and I were wearing our winter uniform. It was the most formal attire we owned, and we didn't have time to look for something else with just a week to prepare. The thick material was highly insulating, adding to my discomfort. Still, do not want to think about. No. They look so happy together. Makes you eager for the blessing too, huh? Kohai. Thanks for agreeing to do this. I followed Sane to the shrine. There were just 2 chairs in the shrine with no decor. Several shrines were dotted around Tagami to honor Shiro, but we were in the biggest in town. Is it time already? The bride and groom were sitting with the straight backs and the chairs. We've still got a little time. I didn't think waiting would make me so nervous. Michitaka Morino tapped on his thigh with a folded fan impatiently. Michitaka-san, the children are watching. Relax. Taeka Imanaka. Why do you do these things to my tongue? Whatever her name is, the bride was wearing a shiramuku, chastised him crossly. White cloth kimono. Alright, basically a wedding dress. Yeah, but even if you say that... Oh, please don't fight on your wedding day. But Taeka started it. But Michitaka-san just... They both said it at the same time, and both frowned and pouted irritably in unison. I couldn't help but laugh at the perfect timing they had. Look now, they're laughing at us. Kohai-kun, will you stop laughing so hard? Okay, I'll try. This is good practice. Practice? You know that saying that even a dog won't... Hey, that's rude. Taeka-san cut me off before I could finish. Maybe it was because she looked so harmless. She wasn't even scary while she was scolding me. The same way Sane wasn't scary when she scolded me. Don't worry, the preparations are all done. It'll be fine. I can't believe our tradition's going to get tainted by the silly social stuff. Taeka-san sighed. Traditionally, weddings in Tagami involved only the bride, groom, and 2 attendants. But now it was hard to do just that when you had social obligations. Maybe it was because people loved to celebrate so much. Now, more often than not, people held parties after the traditional procession was over with families and friends. I couldn't help it. My supervisor insisted I invite him. My company understood. Nobody's coming from my side. Well, your company is special. This ritual is supposed to be sacred. I watched them quarrel after all on a different topic. I wasn't sure whether I should stop them or not. Maybe they would become the type of family where they'd quarrel all the time. But they both looked happy. They were both smiling as they disagreed with each other. This looks right, I thought. Perhaps sometimes it wouldn't always be a friendly quarrel. They'd be happy, and then they'd be angry at each other, and then they'd fight. And then they'd go through all of that together. Are you happy? I found myself asking. The 2 of them looked at me with surprised faces. And I totally almost fell off the thing I'm sitting on. I think I mentioned a while ago that I like to sit on exercise balls when I record stuff, and yeah, it's better than chairs for recording stuff for me, but I do kind of run the risk of falling off of them, you know? Anyway, as if they never expected to be asked a question like that on their wedding day. I didn't turn my head to check, but I had a feeling Sane was wearing the same expression too. Do you want to go outside for some fresh air? Taeka-san said. Once we were out of the shrine, Taeka began bending her back and doing some stretches. I could hear her cracking bones through the thick kimono she was wearing. You're going to mess up your dress, I said. It's always been like that, she said as she turned to me. Ever since we were kids, we even went to the same university. Sounds like something out of a comic book, right? How did it work out that way? We made it work out, she said firmly. When you know the good and the bad about somebody, it's easy to focus on the bad side. I'm sure you know what I mean. Yeah, although I'm not so sure why we tend to do that. Because it's easy to get used to something good, but it's not easy to get used to something bad. I think that's why people celebrate wedding anniversaries. So you have that one day where you remember why you married that person after all. I made a bitter face. I knew that I wasn't even being kind to the people that thought well of me now. Are you happy, Kohai-kun? I'm troubled. I've heard a lot about you from Michitaka-san. Thinking about getting married? No, that's too early for me. Thank you. This is the only 17-year-old in this story. But someday you want to. That's the part I'm not so sure about. How come? Because I find myself unable to be genuinely happy about the whole thing. Even if I'm sure I'll always like Sine. Maybe it's because you haven't quite understood the value of what you have. How about you, Taeka-san? Taeka-san? Have you changed? I sure have, she nodded easily. But nothing changed. That's contradictory, I almost said, but then realized that's not what she meant. Once I graduated from university, I got a job with a publishing firm in Tokyo. It was a small company that published textbooks. It was fun, but the pay was low. Michitaka-san, on the other hand, stayed here and took over the family business at the liquor store, so we made a long-distance relationship. I'd spend all my savings from my cheap salary coming back just to see him. We'd talk all night. In the wee hours of the morning, when I finally ran out of things to say, I would realize soon I would have to leave for Tokyo soon. It always made me sad. She smiled wistfully, reminiscing those times. Sometimes Michitaka-san would come here to Tokyo to see me, but that was really, really rare. We fought about that too. I always thought it was unfair. Why did I always have to live frugally and scrounge for money to come back to see him? But then when I packed my bags to visit, I'd always find myself so happy and at the thought I get to see him again. Stupid, innit? But it was fun. Then we decided to get married. And you know what he said? When are you quitting your job? That's what he said. I couldn't forgive that. He had no idea how much I had sacrificed to keep the job, or how difficult it was for me to save up and come to see him. How I'd lived like a pauper. I was always the one bending over backwards to suit his convenience. But, yeah, I'm here. I sent my letter of resignation the day I returned to Tokyo. Why? Because I believe that's what couples are supposed to do. Give way to one another. Forgiveness is key. But I also learned a very important lesson. To do that, there's something incredibly difficult to do. What's that? Someone has to do it first. You mean someone has to give in first? To put it baldly, yes. When you're together with someone for such a long time, you get good at stepping around things. You learn how to not trespass on certain things that are important to your significant other. But then, sometimes, things that you hold sacred collide. Because it's important. Neither of you want to give in. We fought and hurt each other to the point where we thought we had to break up. A lot of people say that a guy should man up and give in to his lady, though. That's irrelevant. This has nothing to do with gender. She sounded like Masaki when she said that. But then I forgave Michitaka-san. I gave in. I agreed to quit and come home to be his wife and help him in the liquor store. Can you guess what happened? I didn't answer her, knowing she wasn't waiting for my opinion. Michitaka-san became so much nicer to me. The bride slayed me with her happy smile. Alright, I'm gonna interrupt the reading of the story just a minute and say that if this is real life, don't do this maybe? I've obviously never been married, but a piece of advice that people like to throw around is, don't expect the other person to change. At least, not if it doesn't look like they're trying to change on their own. And if they're not at least somewhat nice to you in the first place, it's probably in your best interest to not stick around. Because things could get worse as easily as they could get better. I don't know, like I said, I've never been in a relationship, so who cares what I have to say, but be careful with stuff like this, guys. Back to the story. You seem at a loss, and maybe you regret being here too. But that's okay. Someday, though, one of you will have to give way to the other. Remember that. I will. Alright, I've begun. How long have I been recording? Like 6 or 7 or 8 minutes? I keep going. The sound of bells. I nodded at Sine. The wedding was about to start. We stood before the bride and groom who were seated in the shrine. Let us lead you. I offered my hand to Taeka-san. Let us guide you. Sine offered her hand to Michitaka-san. They both took our hands together. Doing exactly as we were told during rehearsals, we carefully led them away. The doors of the shrine opened. There, Shiro was waiting. My good wishes to both of you. He placed his front paws together and dipped his head. He spoke for our god now. The couple bowed twice in response. Let us lead you. Let us guide you. Shiro moved sideways, offering his back. We led the two towards him so they could take their places. Touching our red umbrellas together once, we opened them together. The bride and groom sat under the combined shade. Shiro began to walk. He walked slowly and surely, taking the route together. Route together? Where together? Where is together in that sentence, Dragonite? Taking the route through the town. I had a bell in my other hand. I rang it every 10 steps. Sine was to rang hers every time we met someone on the road. To wish their paths may be filled with joy. To hope their blessings would be bountiful. The bell was cleansing. It was a bell that would call for harvest. A small wedding procession just for the 4 of us. When we walked through town, people would poke their heads out through the window or walk out in the streets to greet us. They all smiled warmly, expressing their congratulations. Sine would ring the bell to express their thanks for the good wishes. On our way, we saw Masaki and Yuki. Yuki said something, but Masaki ignored her, intrigued by the procession. He was studying us intensely. Yuki grabbed hold of his neck, strangling him. I wanted to laugh. Once we had passed the town, the number of people grew less and less. The higher the sun rose, the more humid it got with the moisture and the damp soil evaporating around us. I wasn't uncomfortable, though, not that we were part of the ceremony. The scent of life was thick around us. There was a peculiar harmony about it all. We stepped on the stones and fallen branches. Shiro carried the two effortlessly. The slope we climbed was a gentle one, so the bride and groom could ride Shiro's back comfortably. This mountain path was used exclusively for weddings. It was a gentle slope, but it had several complex turns. The clouds were gathering above us. It could rain before we got to the shrine. Rain on a wedding day was considered propitious. It was the same rain that brought us the harvest. Everything was considered a symbol of good luck on a wedding day. It was a special day for happiness. Hear us! Sine and I took a step forward once we reached the shrine. I closed my umbrella. We have brought these two to be man and wife. Sine closed her umbrella. The door to the shrine opened, and Shiro made her appearance. Welcome. The water shall bind you, so the soil shall carry you. My lips hold only the words to bless you. She walked forward and knelt before Shiro. Their souls are pure, the wolf declared. Then I shall bless their path. Our God, please lift your face. Our God, please stand on your feet. The bride and groom stood and offered their hands to Shiro. I pass my blessings to these hands. I wish only for happiness for you both. Shiro stood up and took their hands. Then she led them into the shrine. The door must be closed till the ritual is over. What's born shall be returned to the reborn in a blessed state. We shall always keep trouble away. We shall stay and protect your right. I shall begin. With our best wishes. With our best wishes again. I have heard you. We closed the door. We heard it lock from the inside. Now nobody was allowed in until the ritual was over. Half the wedding was successfully over. I've finished. And I think so have I. I'm going to end this off here, even though it hasn't been too long. My name is Dragonite. I hope you all enjoyed that, and I will see you all later.